reason, Labour will not be supporting this bill.
Jami-Lee Ross.
Mr Speaker, on this subject, I'd like to start by reading out a quote in relation to this issue. It goes along like this. Most people, including myself, have a deep sense that it is wrong that serious offenders can be awarded compensation for wrongful treatment without those offenders themselves being required to pay compensation to their victims for the serious wrongs inflicted upon them. Mr Speaker, that quote is from the Honourable Phil Goff from the 14th of December 2004. I want to ask the House and ask the Opposition what's changed in the view of the Opposition, because I absolutely agree with what Phil Goff had to say back in 2004 when he first introduced the Prisoners and Victims Crime Bill, which ended up becoming the Act. Mr Speaker, the problem we have with the Opposition's argument is that if we were to go along with what they're suggesting and simply vote this piece of legislation down, then on the 1st of July next year, we would actually see that compensation scheme for victims done away with. And Mr Speaker, that would be an unacceptable position for this House to leave victims in. Mr Speaker, the original Act responded to the concern that offenders shouldn't receive compensation for wrongful treatment without first repaying the debt they owe to the people that they harmed, the victims. And this Act, this bill, is about continuing that scheme because it's going to expire next year if nothing is done. The Opposition are arguing that we don't support this legislation, but we would see the very scheme that they put in place themselves in 2005 being done away with. That's unacceptable. Mr Speaker, this government has done a lot for victims. This government campaigned in 2008 on supporting victims. The biggest change that's been made for victims has been the $50 offender levy. We've used that new levy to expand services and support for victims of serious crimes and their families. More than 4,000 victims and their families have received extra support in the first year of that because we implemented a victims offender levy. Mr Speaker, this piece of legislation continues something that they started, that they put in place for a very good reason. It's important that it stays, and the petulant attitude that says we don't like that the government hasn't worked with us, therefore we should vote this piece of legislation down is wrong and shouldn't be an argument that's supported. I commend the bill to the House.
That's terrible.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. Party vote. The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes opposed.
Green Party.
14 votes opposed.
New Zealand First.
7 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
3 votes opposed.
Mana.
1 vote opposed.
No, they're opposed.
Act New Zealand.
1 vote in favour.
United Future.
1 vote in favour.
Brendan Horan.
Point of order, the Honourable Tohu.
I'm not sure. Did I hear the Māori Party 3 opposed?
That's my understanding.
They're never going to vote for you now.
The ayes are 68, the noes are 52. The motion is agreed to.
Prisoners and Victims Claims Continuation and Reform Amendment Bill, first reading.
The question is that the Prisoners and Victims Claims Continuation and Reform Amendment Bill be considered by the Justice and Electoral Committee. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Party vote. The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes opposed.
Green Party.
14 in favour.
New Zealand First.
7 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
3 votes in favour.
Mana.
1 vote in favour.
Act New Zealand.
1 vote in favour.
United Future.
1 vote in favour.
Brendan Horan.
Report back. The ayes are 86, the noes are 34. The motion is agreed to. Is there a minister to move the report back?
No, too bad. Too late. It didn't. It's gone. Next matter.
Call Government Order of the Day, numbers 7 and 8.
Electronic Identity Verification Bill, third reading. Identity Information